Hi folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my allotment garden. Now, about a year ago, I first researched and tested out neem oil in this garden. I did a pretty in-depth video about it, which you can see here, but the short version is that if you use it correctly, it can be a fantastic pest management tool, and its real selling point, I think, is that it doesn't impact the wider environment. Now, since filming that video, a few things have changed about the way that I personally use it, and I thought it might be good to do a little update on that because I think I figured out some easier ways. So I wanted to talk about application and the way I make my mix, and I'll talk about application first. In last year's video, I recommended using a spray bottle to make up your mixture and then coat the leaves of your plants. And this is an effective method, it does work, but I don't use it much anymore. And the important thing to know about neem oil is that it contains an active ingredient called Azadirachtin. And that is absorbed into your plant's vascular system and it stays there for a week or two. And the way it works is by impacting whatever comes to feed on your crops. It's not about spraying the pest directly, it's about the pests consuming the Azadirachtin. So when we apply neem oil, we're trying to get neem oil's active ingredient into your plant's system. Spraying does it, but another way that I prefer, and this isn't about efficiency, I'm not sure about which way is more efficient. I tried to find out, but it seems like the jury is out. But I find it easier anyway to use the other method, which is a soil or a root drench, applying it to the roots where it can then be taken up through the plant. And I've gone off sprayers. There's kind of four main reasons why I don't like using these. And the first is that I find them very time consuming and very difficult to clean. Neem oil is spectacularly thick and sticky and it stinks as well. It's really foul smelling and it can take a lot of time and a lot of soap to get your sprayer completely clean. So if you want to be using a sprayer for multiple uses, neem oil is going to cause you some problems. Another reason is that the best time to apply your spray is in the early morning or into the evening, where the sun is lower and the plants aren't subject to so much heat stress. In drought conditions or in the heat of summer, like today, if you're spraying things onto the leaves, often they can have quite negative impacts to your plant's health. Another issue, when you're spraying, even if you're taking care, sometimes you can hit the wrong things. You don't really want to be spraying butterflies, ladybirds, bees, this kind of stuff, because although they're not impacted directly by Azadirachtin, they will not take well to being sprayed with any kind of oil, and it's quite likely to do them a lot of harm. And a final issue, which might be a little specific, is that I find it doesn't absorb very well into a number of waxy leaved plants. So especially brassicas, they're quite hydrophobic, water kind of runs off them. Those plants aren't good at absorbing the oils. And another thing, if you've got leafy crops like kale or cabbage, it can be really difficult to wash the neem oil off. You can end up with some foul tasting crops. So those four reasons are why I don't really use the sprayer anymore. Followers of the channel will know that I am a chili pepper grower. My greenhouse is full of chili peppers, and the method of root drenching that I'm going to talk about is really best for potted plants. So if you've got a greenhouse with tomatoes or melons, cucumbers, aubergines, there's so many things that people grow in pots, and this method should work really well for them. Whether or not it works in a raised bed, I'm not too sure. I'm keen to try it. It might work really well if you use the upturned bottle method to water a thirsty crop. So some of my courgettes, they don't have pest problems, so I can't try it this year. Applying neem oil to the roots directly through those upturned bottles might be a great solution. If you've tried that before, let me know. But this is what root drenching is going to be good for, and let's talk about the easiest way to make the mixture. So for the mixture, last year I made it up in the spray bottle and it was a little bit complicated, it's a little tricky, and when you're making it in the spray bottle, it's difficult to see if it's fully emulsified. So the best way that I found is to just use a measuring jug or something like that, your neem oil, 100% cold pressed always, and best stored kind of cool. Don't leave it in your greenhouse or something like that because the heat can harm the active ingredient and make it less effective. And then your soap. Best not to use dish soap. I've got a Castile soap here Dish soap can be really harmful, especially if you're spraying it. And the ratio for the mix is normally given on a 5-litre basis, so 1 gallon. And for 1 gallon, you would normally do 1 to 2 tablespoons of neem, depending on how strong you want it. And then the soap is normally kind of half a teaspoon, but really it's just as much as you need to get it emulsified. And for a root drench, you probably want to just dial it back a little bit more, dilute it a bit more, because it's really going into the plant, you know, with the roots. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon of neem. Then we're going to do half a teaspoon of soap. And then the easiest thing to do is just to add a splash of water. So we've now got all the ingredients in here, and I've just used a bamboo stake to give these a mix, and it should come together really quickly. It's so much easier to see up close than doing it in the sprayer, and it should turn into quite a thick, milky liquid. And then what I do is I just leave it for 30 seconds to see if it's separating. If it is, give it another stir. If it separates again after another 30 seconds, I know that I've got to adjust the ratios a little bit. And this would be enough for a 5-litre sprayer, so 1 gallon of spray, or at half the ratio, which is how I use it, for 10 litres of water for the watering can. And in terms of application, it couldn't be simpler. This is why I love this method, because this is a job I have to do anyway. I have to be watering my peppers, and in goes the neem oil mix. And then we just give it another stir. And it comes together so quickly. You don't have to worry about shaking the sprayer or any of this. It's just so quick and easy. It's a job I'd be doing anyway. And it's perfect for potted plants. The way that I measure it is just by counting out. So I'll do kind of 3 seconds for each plant. I just try and make sure they all get a pretty even mixture. And it's really as simple as that. Because they're in pots, any excess should wash out. But I am just in love with this method. It's made my life much easier. So there we go, all the peppers have had another dose of Azadirachtin, which should help keep them completely aphid free. This is just such an easy method. I really hope you've enjoyed this little update on last year's video. It's nothing groundbreaking. People have been doing this in the garden for quite a long time, but it was bothering me that that old video was still out there now that I've got a much better method. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.